It's CPI day, everyone's favorite Lizard Council day, where we get to discuss what the inflation was for the past month. Current estimates, I believe, are 3.3%. Anything below that, likely to have a nice little catalyst for some upside price action. Anything above that, some red dildo party action, as everyone loves as well. Anyways, today is a good day to be looking at correlator markets. Realistically, on a day like today, I don't trust technical analysis or quantitative analysis or any sort of analysis all that much. What I trust is the major points of interest, of which those are likely to be given, some sort of a major bias on price action. So that is the topic of today. That's what we'll be discussing today. And other than that, I want to welcome you back to the Krown Crypto channel. I always wish you the best of the best in this nice little lovely Thursday morning over here. A very boring Thursday morning, actually. So let's just jump right into it. First things first, I want to start off with NASDAQ. So we were looking at last couple of weeks as likely to put in a nice short-term reversal. Again, long-term, I'm not bearish on this thing at all whatsoever, but I am looking for this correction to continue a little bit more, most likely. In this case, we did identify some regular bearish evidence, very, very slight right here, to be fair, coming off these last couple highs that we did see coming in from June and then again in July. So short-term pullback, very likely initiated. We're looking somewhere around low $15,000 first before a bit of a bounce, and then potentially more a little bit later. So going down over here to the daily, we're starting to get pretty damn close to that $15,000 number. I think that there could maybe be another swipe a little bit lower, just above 15,000 bucks, but getting close to a bouncy bounce, I do suspect over there. However, long term is the low in this one or I should say, it's the higher low in this one in. Is this one ready to march back on to current all-time highs and probably beyond? I wouldn't necessarily say that just yet. I also can't speak, so that's difficult as well. Don't know what the hell is going on today, man. Anyways, longer term, do I think that it could gun for this gap over here from early June of this year? Yeah, definitely possible, which would put it somewhere in like the mid, maybe upper $14,000 territory. So a little bit more of a longer game right there. And of course, these marks typically are correlated. So NASDAQ pulling back, not necessarily the best signal for Bitcoin, I suspect. Also, if we go ahead and look at, I guess we can just go look at SPY right here as well. Same thing, a little bit stronger, to be fair, a little bit stronger in this case. But, I'd probably be saying something relatively similar. I'd want to see somewhere around like 44.50 or so, give or take a few bucks from that number, before the next potential, low, if you will. Until then, I suspect that today or these next few days, you probably do see maybe a try somewhere around there, which likely does put pressure on Bitcoin. So now going over to Bitcoin, as we do recognize that Bitcoin has had a few things in the overnight session happen. Bitcoin getting rejected from 30,000 bucks yet again. Also seemingly putting in a drive of potential hidden bearish evidence right here. I don't think that this one is confirmed just yet. Or at least I personally would not look at this one to confirm just yet, because I'd want to still see below that very critical region of 29,500 on a closing basis, very specifically right there. If that does happen, that will confirm it, and very likely another move back down to the low side of the range, somewhere 29,000 bucks, maybe a little bit lower than that, and then it's game on yet again as Bitcoin plays out this eternal range that it's been stuck in ever since the ripe old time of middle of July. So it's been like 4 weeks now. It's been it's been close to a month within this overall range. Overall range being essentially, let me just get out a nice big old blue box, baby, something like this. Basically, you can see that I have drawn in a bit of a falling channel right there. That's not to say that I believe that there is a falling channel. I was just kind of playing around with the ideas earlier. But I do think that again, looking at the 0.5 the 50% retracement right here, 29,500. I do like that area as a bit of a short-term bias buster. Also going to be coming into what's it called, confluence, yes, with of course the 12-hour area that we're looking at in the HPDR indicator for the past couple weeks actually. But as you'll notice, upon last night's closure, the average of the range has actually moved up quite significantly. That means that the bottom side of the range has also moved up, as well as the top side. So generally speaking, that is a good signal for a consolidation like this. As it gets marched down, generally speaking, that's kind of like the beginning of a bit of a downtrend. As it gets marched up, vice versa in this case. But that does not mean that we can't see something like this, where it comes down, bases around here again, and then gives another try to the upside. In fact, if we do see that hidden bearish evidence play out over here, very likely that's exactly what will happen. Or I shouldn't say exactly what will happen. I do not like that sort of terminology, because there's just no way to know exactly what's going to happen, despite what all sort of, YouTube thumbnails and and exclamation marks and Twitter posts and shit can make you believe. I can assure you, after doing this for, I guess, close to 15 years now, anything can and will happen. And if you've been in these markets for the last 3 to 4 years, you already fucking know that. You already know that. So again, just looking at this as a major error right here, about 29,500 on a 12-hour closing basis. Again, keeping in mind that today's event going to likely be a major catalyst in that particular conversation. That would also imply that the current average of the range probably going to act as a nice little breakout point if Bitcoin can start to close back above basically 29,950. 29,950, that is. At that point, Bitcoin very likely does get a move back around, I would say 31,000. I know a lot of people say 30,500. Yeah, I see that as well, but I don't think that things would stop there. I do think that you'd see an overall retest of basically the summer highs and probably new highs from there, to be quite frank with you. But this can take some time as I just draw more lines on my chart. Anyways, going through stochastic momentum, let's see what the current pivots are. And I'll go back on over here. Let's actually go to... well, we can start off with the 2-day time frame. Why not? 2-day time frame remains with its upside momentum as long as Bitcoin is closing above 28,900. Daily time frame is going to be showing upside above 29,000 even. 12-hour time frame is going to be showing upside above 29,250. Not bad. 6-hour time frame is going to be showing downside below 29,700 and change. 4-hour time frame is going to be showing downside below 29,950, and hourly is going to be showing actually upside above 29,450. So we do see a bit of a bifurcation between a lot of these different time frames. Expect in the very, very short term, a bit more sideways. Come today's event, that's the time where we'll start to see a bit of a direction picked to the downside. Again, if Bitcoin does move to the downside, I would be looking for bounces in the basically upper 28s, most likely, maybe a wick down there and then try for a bounce. But I would express concern, however, if Bitcoin does start to close below these wick lows that we did see over here, which was 28,555 on Bybit. So check your exchange, it'd be a little bit different. Bitcoin starts to close below there. Not only will Bitcoin very, very likely move all the way down to low $28,000 territory, I highly doubt it will actually try for a bottom there, probably a bounce. At that point, I do think Bitcoin will be moving inevitably decently lower, at least to 27.5. What is it exactly? 27.5 to 27.7. As of right now, we can see that the 4-hour time frame, if we go over here on the HPDR indicator, it is showing what? Yeah, it's showing the current average of the range actually at about that 29.5-ish region. So would that be good enough on a 4-hour time frame? I probably wouldn't be using it myself. But certainly below 29,400, this closing low that we see right here, that'd be good enough for me to be looking for a move somewhere into the upper 28s. Let's call it 28, anywhere between 28.7 to 28.9, somewhere around there. And then come back to it after that. So a bit, I understand these days are pretty fucking frustrating. They're frustrating for me too, just because, there ain't all that much going on. And the things that are going on are kind of out of the typical control. Personally speaking, on these days, I try just not to trade. In fact, to shut off all my algos and scripts and whatnot, just because weird shit happens. It's not really within contained within the overall model. So I try to omit that. Anyways, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off. Basically, a very, very long way of saying if you're on the bullish side of things, you want to see closures back above 29.9. If you're on the bearish side of things, 29.5 on a 12-hour or 29.4 on a 4-hour, probably good enough for another retest of the range lows. And from there, should we just go over yet again? Yeah, above the range highs at 29.9 or so. I would be looking for Bitcoin to generally start moving towards $31,000, maybe a little bit beyond. By the same token, to the downside, well, below 28,550, that's where this range starts to break to the downside, and I'll start to be looking for probably moves into the upper 27s or mid 27s from there. So I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this particular video. We'll come back tomorrow, hopefully with some more clarity on the situation. Maybe we might even see a new price. Holy shit. That would be a crazy idea. So we'll pick up there. And as always, wish you the best. Take care. Much love and see you hopefully Friday.